Hi, my name is Yahira Garcia, and I am the Community Engagement and Outreach Specialist graduate employee at University Counseling Services. Welcome to the recorded version of our Getting It Done the Smart Way workshop. My hope is for you, being here watching this is that you'll be able to follow along and engage in this interactive workshop and maybe learn some tips and tricks to help you make some, great and achievable goals. But before we start, I do want to say that although I do work at University Counseling Services, this workshop does not constitute mental health treatment or therapy. I do encourage those who may be needing additional support to seek out mental health support through University Counseling Services. You can call us to schedule, a same-day appointment at 541-346-3227 or go to counseling.uoregon.edu for more information. Now, getting started, I'm assuming you're here because you want to learn about goals, right? Well, before we get started on that, I want to start out with thinking of our goals by taking into account the perspective of time. So I want you to first to think about your present goals. What is a goal that you have for today, maybe, or for the week? Think about that. Now, think about maybe your lifetime goals. How are they similar or how are they different to your present goals, the ones you just identified before? Are they similar? Are they different? Do they connect? Is there a common thread between the two of them? Think about that for a couple of seconds. Now, I want you to think of, these two kinds of goals that you have. Now think about your goals, with what your goals would look like if you only had 6 months to live. Time is far less plentiful. And think about how your goals would be impacted then. Is there a difference? Would you change anything? Would you do anything differently now? The value of time is extraordinary, and a lot of the time we tend to take advantage of it. The same measurement of time for one person can mean a world of difference to someone else. And for that, I want you to look at this list on the screen. How important do you think time is for a student who failed a grade? The importance of a year, or maybe a mother who gave a premature baby. What's the importance of a month to her? And continue looking down this, the importance of a week for an editor of a daily newspaper, or, the importance of an hour for lovers who are waiting, to meet or reunite again. How do you think time plays in their goals? And how does time play in yours? What's the value of time for your goals? Reflect on that for another second. Setting goals is really important, but first we want to establish, a solid foundation for, setting up these goals. And one way of doing that is by revisiting your values. Reflect on what is valuable to you. This gives you, a direction in which to put your energy to. And also, it helps you prioritize goals that are reflective of your values. And, this helps you make time management decisions of just like what is worth putting into what goals do I want to achieve that are congruent with what I deem is important. Now that we discussed some foundational aspects of goals, the value of time, keeping that in frame of our goals, and also trying to think of our values when we set goals. So those are two foundational aspects to goals. But where in the world do we start in making our actual goals? What do we tend to prioritize? Well, there are a few common strategies and specifics to keep in mind when identifying and making goals. First is to make your goals specific and don't be vague with them. Having long-term goals is great, but also having short-term goals will, also allow you to keep being on track in the journey for those long-term goals. So for example, if you have, the goal of being a doctor, like that is fantastic. That's a great goal to have. But there are certain steps you need to take in order to become a doctor. So how, what's the first step? Maybe it's like graduating high school, it's getting into college, it's, getting a pre-med career, it's passing specific classes, you know, having shorter term goals to achieve your greater goals, it's a good, mindset to have. There's also, setting a deadline so you're working towards your goals as well. It's easy to kind of disregard a goal if you don't have a deadline to keep you motivated. You could also, kill a few birds with the stone and integrate your goals, your school, your personal, your career goals, like try to achieve as many as you can in like one shot if they, you can double dip. And lastly, it's important to recognize that life happens, and that we must be adaptable so that we know what goals to stick to. So, self-compassion is really important. And this is just like, life happens. I must be prepared, for things to change, to adapt, to do all this, but also, know which goals are important and are worthwhile to pursue. Now that was a lot of information, the foundation, some, aspects that are important for goals, but this is a fun acronym that some of you may have heard of. You may have heard of it, and it's super helpful in, building and guiding goal setting. Do you have any idea of what each of these letters stand for? Can you think? Can you challenge yourself? SMART. Well, you may have some guesses, you may know exactly what they are, but in terms of here, it's specific, measurable, achievable, or attainable. I've seen two different types for the A, achievable or attainable, realistic and timely. And that's how we're going to focus on, kind of thinking out about SMART goals. So let's break this acronym down. The first aspect of a goal setting is that we're going to talk about, making a goal specific, like hitting your target. And a goal has a much better chance of being accomplished if it is specific. And on the screen, there's a general and a specific goal regarding implementing core state standards, for example. Do you see how the big difference is between the two are, for example? I can go ahead and read it for you. A general goal would be, implement common core standards, but a specific goal would say implement one standard every 6 weeks and have 2 formative and 1 summative assessment with it. There's 2 big difference between it. One is just very vague, one is very, very specific. So what the goal is. Another, example that could be applicable to students is maybe regarding grades. You could have the goal of like, I want to get better grades this term. That's a great goal to have. But, one way we can make that specific is, I want to earn grades that are a B average or higher. Like that makes the goal much more specific, like, than just like better grades. What is better grades? Is it, is it going up from an F to a D or like to a C or to a B, or is it straight A's or A pluses, whatever it may be, like that makes the grade goal much more specific. Specific goals also answer the 6 W questions. And this is, like who is involved? What do I want to accomplish? Where? Like identify a location if that's applicable. When? Establish a time frame. Which? Identify requirements and constraints. And why? Specific reasons or purpose or benefits of accomplishing this goal. So all of these, 6 W's kind of cater to identifying and making a goal much more specific. Moving on, we want to make sure that the goal is measurable. Like, how do you measure your progress? Well, it's important to have measurable goals so that you can track your progress and stay motivated. This is, assessing your goals, and this helps you, stay focused, meet your deadlines, and feel the excitement of getting closer to, achieving your goals. And for here, it's, establish criteria for measuring your progress towards that goal. And that's really, really important. Now, a measurable goal should address questions such as how much, how many, how will we know when we have accomplished our goal? That are questions to ask, you know, what your goal is, whether it's specific or not. Um, so, yes, this is, questions that can be asked to make a goal measurable. And an example that I can come up with off the top of my head for a measurable goal is, I want to run a marathon. And, for that, like how much? Well, I want to run one marathon. How much is that? That's, 26.2 miles, right? Or something along those lines. And how will I know if I accomplished that goal? Well, I will know if I accomplished that goal when I run 26.2 miles. Like that is a measurable goal. Did I run less than that? Then I didn't, run a marathon. If I run that length, like I know I achieved, running a complete marathon. So that's just, a quick example. The next letter is, making sure that a goal is attainable. How many steps will it take to meet my goal? When you identify goals that are most important to you, you can begin to figure out ways that can make them come true. And your goal needs to be realistic and attainable to be successful. So it should stretch your abilities, but still remain possible. So when you set, maybe an attainable goal or an achievable goal, as it's also referred to, you may be able to identify previously, overlooked opportunities or resources that can bring you closer to it. So for example, going back to the idea of running a marathon, if I said, oh, I want to run a marathon in a month, but I'm not a runner, I have never ran before, like that might not be an attainable goal. If I say, I want to run a marathon in a year and I train for it, like that's a much more attainable goal than, me just getting up and running a marathon like right this afternoon or, in a week or in a month. Like that is not quite an attainable goal for me. So, that is, important to think about when trying to set your goals. Um, you know, an achievable goal will, usually answer questions such as how can I accomplish this goal? In what ways can you break large goals into smaller steps? And what can I do today to get me a step closer to my goal, for example? Think about these questions. If you have like a goal in mind that you're trying to, solidify and make a smart goal, like think about these questions. Next, it's, addressing like the realistic aspect of, a goal. How can we make it to the end? To be a realistic goal, a goal must represent an objective toward which you are both willing and able to work. I also like this particular tidbit of information in the box. The box says a high goal is frequently easier to reach than a low one because a low goal exerts low motivational force. Some of the hardest jobs you ever accomplish actually seem easy because they were a labor of love. So it has to be worth it to you. Also, I want to add to this particular aspect is to, beware of setting goals that someone has power over for you. You can work as hard as you can, as hard as, as possible for you to achieve something, but sometimes the circumstances are out of your control and that, forms a barrier to actually achieving or reaching certain goals. And something that, is pretty salient in my life is my own goal that I could say of getting into grad school. I'm, a grad student and I've had a goal for, a long, long time to get into grad school. And as hard as I worked on it, I had to, identify the possibility that I can work super hard to, be a great applicant. But other than that, there are, forces beyond my control that I couldn't make the decision to accept me into, graduate school. That was someone else's control. And if I didn't get into grad school, I had to, realize that there are forces beyond my control that, might help me or hinder me in achieving this goal. So that's just, a little caveat, maybe not so little caveat that I do want to say in regards to achieving, you know, and creating realistic goals is, knowing that there are many things that are beyond our own control despite how hard we work to different systems of the world. So to determine if a goal is realistic, it's important to ask yourself questions such as, do I truly believe this can be accomplished? Have I accomplished, something similar to this in the past? And can I identify conditions needed for me to accomplish this goal? These are all, again, very necessary questions to ask yourself if you are, trying to achieve a realistic goal for yourself. And the last aspect of a SMART goal is the timely aspect of it. When will this goal actually be achieved? So a goal should be grounded in, a time frame. With no time frame tied to it, there is no sense of urgency. So anyone can set goals, but if it lacks realistic timing, chances are that you're not going to succeed. So, that's a really important thing to keep in mind. And time-bound goals, answer the questions such as by what date do I need to accomplish this goal? Like what week of the term, like what measurement of time am I looking at? And, something, going back to to the marathon goal, I can set like, oh, by the 2022, like I will run, my goal is to, run the 2022 Eugene Marathon. That is very specific. There is, someone's going to make a date that the Eugene Marathon will be run sometime next year, and that is time bound. I have almost a year to train to do this particular task, for example. And that's how that's my measurement of time, a year. But it could be a week. Oh, I want to clean my entire apartment, in within the week. Like that is also, a time-bound goal. And I kind of want to bring back the concept of, the value of time. And I found this quote pretty interesting and I wanted to include it. By Charles Bruxton, who was an English philanthropist, writer, and member of Parliament. You will never find time for anything. If you want time, you must make it. So just kind of bringing it back again to the value of time. And SMART goals is an excellent strategy for planning goals, but achieving them takes more than just a plan. I'm going to go through some techniques about some times saving strategies. But first, I wanted to, start with some common myths about time management. One is that, it's common sense that time management, in order to do well in school, you must manage your time efficiently. Time management takes the fun out of life. Some people procrastinate and feel like they can succeed because they work better under pressure. And some people just feel that no matter what they do, they just don't have enough time in the day to get, the things they want done. Done. So these are just, some common myths about time management. And well, shock, you cannot manage time. You can only manage your actions to take full advantage of the time that is available to you. So some SMART goal pitfalls, are to set deadlines for yourself and keep them. If you don't keep your deadlines, you won't be able to accomplish your goals. So keep that in mind. Another thing is to break down big projects into smaller steps and set a deadline for each part. So let's say you have 10-page paper to write. you know, sitting down in, one shot and writing a 10-page paper is not easy, and it's definitely not something that is realistic for me personally. So a strategy that I tend to utilize is to break down big projects into smaller parts, being like, okay, I can't finish a 10-page paper in one go, but I can, write a page a day. That is something that is easier for me to accomplish for me. So that, it's a very specific thing. Like I will write a page of a paper every day for 10 days, for example. That is, a big, pretty specific and timely goal. And I have a deadline for each one. Like I have to do this every day, one page a day. So there's that. Another thing is that share with people what your goals are so that they can check up on you. Like, how is that going? Are you still, writing your paper? Are you still training for the marathon? When are you going to do that? Like, tell people so they can, kind of help you be accountable. And another thing is, to set up a reward system for each and every part of, the goal, and reward yourself when you've achieved, the like little victories, the goals in between and the bigger goal, and that doesn't mean, to throw a party for each part. It could be, taking a break or giving yourself like a night off, or, going out to dinner, or, having a special meal, like whatever it may be. Like reward yourself and like acknowledge that you accomplished something towards your goal. Like celebrating the victories are so important. So I don't want you to forget about that. But that is, the bulk of the, presentation regarding, setting up SMART goals. And I'm hoping that throughout the presentation, you were able to identify a goal that you had in mind and were able to, utilize the different aspects of the acronym and creating it into being a smarter, more achievable, timely, realistic, attainable goal that you will be able to accomplish, in the timeline that you set for yourself. Definitely believe in you. But before we wrap up, I do want to, present you some services that are available to you as University of Oregon students. We offer free consultations to students or to, parents or family members of students. If you have any kind of questions or concerns about someone, like call the front desk and we can, provide consultations. We also offer individual and group therapy to students through teletherapy, in this current moment. We also, have case managers on staff, and we offer community and campus referrals, to get you connected to maybe a provider out in the community or refer you to other services that are available to you at the university. And we also have education, prevention, and outreach, which is what you're actively, engaging in right now. So I definitely appreciate that. If you have any questions, please feel free to, email me at uccrhge@uoregon.edu. Also, feel free to call the University Counseling Services front desk. After hours, it is a crisis support line for you, so I highly recommend you add this number to your phone if you haven't already. And if you're interested to know where we're located, we're at the Health Counseling and Testing Center building on the second floor. We're right across from Oregon Hall if you are interested in, again, knowing where we are. But that is that, and thank you for watching this workshop.